Gentlemen, when a woman disappoints you, forget the script. Don't raise your voice. Don't show pain. Don't retreat into silence to punish her. Don't explode to prove you feel. And that's what she expects. That's what she can handle. You're not supposed to be predictable. Kiss ko-ily ko-yar, you're supposed to be elemental. When lightning strikes the sea, the ocean doesn't flinch. It absorbs it. Be the ocean. Here's the truth most men never learn. When a woman disappoints you, your instinct may scream for a reaction, to demand answers, to show her she crossed a line. But let me tell you something most men never learn. The real power isn't in reacting. It's in how you don't. Disappointment is a setup. It's not always malicious, but it is revealing. It shows you whether she sees your value or whether she's testing it. And in that moment, most men fail. They burst. They complain. They fall into emotional chaos, handing her the keys to their peace. That's not strength. That's self-sabotage. See, when you react, you tell her she still holds you emotionally. When you explode or beg or explain, you're not expressing strength. You're exposing need, and need is not attractive. What you need to do is confuse her, not with drama, but with silence, with composure, with acceptance so calm it becomes a mirror, one that reflects her actions back at her with brutal clarity. She expects you to flinch. She expects an argument. She expects to feel your pain and your anger, because that gives her control. When you don't give it, you shift the entire dynamic. She's no longer in charge of the emotional tempo. You are. Your silence will echo in her head louder than any words you could have shouted. Your calm will crawl under her skin more than any insult you could throw. This isn't about being passive. Don't confuse control with apathy. You felt that disappointment. You registered it. But what separates the boy from the man is what you do next. You hold your line. You detach from outcome. You step back, not to retreat, but to watch, to learn, to decide. You don't demand better. You measure if better is even possible. And here's the magic: acceptance isn't weakness. It's a form of dominance. It says, I see what you did. I won't fight you on it. I just no longer move the same around you. That will unsettle her. That will make her question herself. Did she mess up? Why didn't you react? Did she lose your respect? That internal questioning will do far more damage than any confrontation ever could. You don't need to punish her. Let her own guilt. That's real consequence. Now understand, this doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect. It means you give no reaction where one is expected. You don't play defense. You don't chase. You don't explain your worth. You shift your presence. You become scarce. You become unpredictable. And in that confusion, she will either rise or she will reveal she was never for you. The man who remains composed in disappointment is not heartless. He's sovereign. He's dangerous. Because he isn't trying to win her back. He's letting her reveal if she's worth keeping at all. And that, my friend, is the kind of man no one forgets. So next time she disappoints you, don't react. Let her feel the silence. Let her live in the echo of her choice. That's the loudest message you'll ever send. When she disappoints you, you're standing at a crossroads, not of emotion, but of discipline. One road is loud and reactive. It's the road most men take, flaring up with anger, flooding her phone with questions, trying to fix what just broke. But what they don't see is that every reaction, every emotional outburst is fuel for her control. Women don't always test you intentionally, but they always watch your response. If your self-control melts the moment things don't go your way, you just proved your emotional stability was conditional. That makes you replaceable, predictable, easy to label. The second road is colder but sharper. It's acceptance, not because you approve of what happened, but because you acknowledge it without negotiation. This is the mindset of a man who knows his value isn't dependent on external validation. When you respond with acceptance, not silence for punishment, but silence for clarity, you flip the script. Suddenly, she's not watching you lose control. She's watching a version of you she doesn't fully understand. That's unsettling. That's power. You don't need to shout. You don't need to explain. Your stillness will say everything. It tells her you won't compete for attention, approval, or closure. She gets one chance to disappoint you without a lesson. After that, the lesson is your absence. And here's the real gaming: when you accept her mistake and don't react, she's forced to ask herself, did I just lose something I didn't fully understand? That question eats at her. It lingers. And in that space, she'll reveal either growth or guilt. This is not about manipulation. It's about maintaining your masculine frame. When she sees you absorb disappointment without emotional collapse, she knows she's dealing with a man who's been through storms. You've seen betrayal. You've felt loss. And still you didn't fall. You paused. You processed. You adjusted. That adjustment may be silent, but it's not subtle. She will feel it in your tone, in your pace, in your absence. That's what makes her reevaluate, not your words. And if she doesn't, you walk, not with drama, with grace. Now, the second truth is this: when a woman disappoints you, your ability to maintain mystery is your edge. Most men lose their mystique the moment they feel hurt. They become transparent, desperate to restore control, to be understood. That's not masculine energy. That's submission. Your strength lies in not being decoded. Let her feel that shift, not hear it. You stop initiating. You stop explaining. You don't get colder. You get quieter. You don't chase closure. You create distance. That forces her to confront the space you used to fill. And if she comes back, it won't be because you begged. It'll be because your absence clarified your value. It'll be because she saw you don't need her presence to stay powerful. Women don't want a man who reacts like them. They want a man grounds them. Grounding energy doesn't scream. It doesn't chase. It doesn't collapse. It observes. It calculates. It decides. So when disappointment comes, and it will, don't let your emotions write checks your integrity can't cash. Be still. Be collected. And let your acceptance do what arguments never could: expose the truth. Whether she folds or flourishes under that pressure is not your responsibility. Your only job is to remain a man who doesn't flinch. Not because he doesn't feel, but because he refuses to be moved by anything that doesn't meet his standard. That's discipline. That's power. That's how you confuse her and remind her who she's dealing with. When she disappoints you, don't panic. Don't confront. Don't beg for clarity. A disappointed man who reacts is like a lion showing his belly, inviting someone else to decide his fate. That's not strength, that's surrender. The moment you react, you give her confirmation that she still controls your emotional temperature. That's what she expects. She knows the weight of her words. She knows the silence in her tone. She knows when she pulls away. And she knows how it will likely affect you. What she doesn't expect is peace. What she doesn't anticipate is calm. And that's why acceptance is the sharpest move you can make. Acceptance isn't weakness. It's emotional discipline. It says, I see what you did. I understand what it means, and I won't fight you for a seat at a table you just flipped over. When you stop reacting, you start observing. Most men rush to resolve things, trying to fix the discomfort because they fear abandonment. But a grounded man doesn't fear loss. He prepares for it. He doesn't fear silence. He understands the echo inside it is louder than any argument. So instead of confrontation, you give her space. And in that space, you let her think, you let her feel, you let her sit with the reality that her actions no longer trigger you. They inform you. And from there, you move differently. But here's the deeper key. When you accept and don't react, you trigger something powerful: confusion. Not the childish kind that tries to make her jealous, not the petty silence designed to punish. No, you confuse her with your peace. You disarm her with your calm. You remove the emotional map she thought she had of you. And when someone can't read you, they can't manipulate you. Your acceptance makes her uncomfortable, not because it's cold, but because it forces reflection. She begins to ask questions. Why didn't he react? Is he hurt? Or is he done? Is he upset? Or does he just not care anymore? And here's the secret. Those questions do more damage than your words ever could. Because now, the story is in her head, and that's where you want it. Don't make announcements. Don't over speech. Let your change in behavior speak. Pull back. Not with bitterness, but with quiet intention. You no longer invest the same way. You no longer offer the same energy. She'll notice. She'll sense the shift. And if there was genuine connection, she will begin to reflect. She will feel that gap where your presence used to stand. And if there wasn't real connection, you'll have spared yourself from pouring more value into someone who couldn't hold it. Either way, you win. Now understand, this isn't about control. It's about clarity. You're not punishing her for disappointing you. You're showing her that disappointment has a cost, not through aggression, but through detachment. You don't slam doors. You don't send paragraphs. You move like a man who's been through worse and came out cleaner. Your presence is no longer predictable, and that mystery makes her reconsider the weight of her actions. The most dangerous man is not the loudest in the room. He's the one who disappears with his dignity intact. The one who doesn't argue for understanding. The one who accepts what happened and never repeats himself. Because once you apt her disappointment without reaction, she's the one left reacting. She's the one questioning. She's the one chasing closure. And that's how the game flips, not through noise, but through silence forged in self-respect. That's not just discipline. That's power she can't ignore. When she disappoints you, the immediate pull is to respond, to defend your worth, to ask why. But that's not the move. The moment you chase clarity, You give away presence. You hand her the emotional high ground, showing that her action or inaction has pierced your peace. That's what she wants to know. That's what she listens for. It's not always conscious, but it's instinctive. She'll study your tone, your timing, your words, your silences. The more you chase understanding, the more predictable you become. And predictable men can't lead. So instead, do the unexpected. Accept. Let her act and let her live in it. Argue. Don't correct. Just withdraw. Quietly. Not in bitterness, but in discipline. She will feel it. Not because you left, but because you stayed present without performing. That absence of reaction speaks louder than rage. It says, I saw that, and I'm now observing, not engaging. That shift is subtle, but it's everything, because now she's left alone with her own reflection. No feedback loop, no emotional energy from you to bounce off, just silent space. That space becomes the pressure, and in that pressure, her real character shows. She will either grow in awareness or collapse into blame, and you'll finally see her, not the mask, not the performance, but her. Not every disappointment is meant to be repaired. Some are meant to reveal. Men who master this don't operate from ego. They move from awareness. They understand that not all disrespect looks like screaming. Sometimes it's silence when support was expected. Sometimes it's withdrawal when presence was promised. And your job is not to fight for that presence, but to value your own. Don't reward confusion with attention. Don't beg to be understood. A woman who truly values you won't test your boundaries to prove your love. She'll guard them to preserve it. If she doesn't, you don't correct her. You correct your position in her life with noise. Without theater, you simply shift. And when you shift, you don't announce it. You don't post cryptic messages or drop passive comments. You go internal. You recenter, because that's what confuses her, the change in you. The man who once responded instantly now takes his time. The man who once explained everything now lets things breathe. You don't become cold, you become calm. Calm is scarier. It's unfamiliar. And unfamiliar energy always demands attention. She may ask what's wrong. She may test you again to provoke emotion. But you hold your line. You don't fall for bait. You don't explain a shift she earned. That mystery will eat at her, and that's where you regain your leverage. Remember, she's not wired like you. While you process logic, she processes energy. Your reaction, your tone, your pace, all signal where she stands in your world. If disappointment from her shifts you emotionally, it tells her she still has sway over your internal world. But when your energy stays consistent, when you move with peace instead of pain, she begins to wonder, did I just lose something I didn't appreciate? That question won't let her rest. Not because you yelled, but because you didn't. Because you didn't flinch, because you didn't break your frame. That kind of man is rare, and rare men are always remembered. So when the moment comes, and it always comes, choose stillness over storms. Let your peace be the message. Let your absence be the consequence. You're not punishing her. You're showing her that access to you is earned, not assumed. And if she realizes it too late, that's not your failure. That's her lesson. A man who accepts disappointment without emotional collapse is a man no one forgets. He's not trying to win her back. He's waiting to see if she can catch up. That's not revenge. That's respect. For yourself, when she disappoints you, don't let instinct take the wheel. Most men are trained to solve, fix, or react fast. But a fast reaction is usually a sign of emotional immaturity. It reveals that your internal state is still dependent on someone else's behavior. That's not leadership. That's dependence dressed as connection. A woman who disappoints you, whether intentionally or not, has given you data. Your job is not to get angry or chase her for answers. Your job is to process the data and adapt. Acceptance isn't submission. It's strategy. It means you recognize what happened, feel what you need to feel, but respond with vision, not volume. Acceptance confuses her because it's not passive, it's powerful. She's used to a cycle, the mistake, the fallout, the emotional chaos. That's where many relationships live, stuck on a loop of disappointment and recovery. But when you break that rhythm, when you simply acknowledge the moment and pull back without ceremony, you disrupt her emotional blueprint. She expects you to react like every other man has. She expects anger, guilt tripping, or emotional withdrawal used as punishment. But when you accept and stay steady, you become something different, something she can't immediately define. And that's where your value increases, not because you tried harder, but because you didn't try at all. Women aren't drawn to men who perform, they're drawn to men who hold frame. Your frame is your emotional foundation. When she tests it through distance, disrespect, or detachment, your stillness becomes the measure of your strength. You don't match her energy. You raise your standard. That doesn't mean being cold. It means being clear. You no longer overextend. You no longer explain what she should already understand. You allow her the dignity of her own choices, and you maintain the dignity of your silence. That's where men win, not through persuasion, but through posture. The shift is internal before it ever becomes external. It's the decision to not let her behavior dictate your peace. And that peace isn't passive, it's active. It means you stop texting first, you stop checking in, you stop filling the space she created. If she values what you bring, she will notice the void. She will feel the absence of your masculine leadership. But if she doesn't feel it, that's your answer. And because you responded with clarity instead of chaos, you're in a position to walk without baggage, without bitterness, without second-guessing your move. This is not about playing games. It's about refusing to play theirs. When you accept her disappointment without emotional retaliation, you force her to meet you on your level, or leave herself behind. And if she chooses to walk, let her. A woman who can disappoint you and remain unchanged by your calm withdrawal was never invested in your presence, only in your reactions. That's not someone you build with. That's someone you learn from. By holding frame and accepting what happened without flinching, you remind her and yourself that your value doesn't bend. It's not tied to outcome, approval, or validation. It's rooted. When she sees that, she either rises to meet it or she falls away. Either way, you don't chase, you don't debate, you don't collapse. You evolve quietly, strongly, completely, because that's what men of depth do. They let storms pass, but never let them shape their path. When she disappoints you, the first urge is emotional, a need to address it, fix it, or express the sting. But here's the deeper truth: reaction is not relief, it's revelation. It shows her that she still governs your emotional world. That's power you hand away. Instead, sit with it. Let the disappointment settle like dust in a quiet room. No text, no call, no chasing for context. Just stillness. That stillness isn't silence for silence's sake. It's sacred space. It's the environment where you regain control of your perception, and she's left to wonder if her actions shifted something fundamental in you. Because they did, and you don't have to say a word to prove it. See, most men crumble in the face of relational confusion. They need answers to feel steady. But stability isn't found in explanation, it's found in awareness. She may have withdrawn affection. She may have said something careless. She may have shifted tones or withheld praise. It doesn't matter what the method was. What matters is that you recognized it and didn't let it shake your center. That alone puts you in a class of your own, because now she sees what most never show her. A man who feels deeply but moves wisely. Acceptance is not weakness, it's a mirror. You hold it up not to reflect her, but to reflect you. Your growth, your maturity, your capacity to walk forward without dragging emotional debris behind you. When she sees you're not chasing, not reacting, not even defending your position, something flips. It's not anger, it's curiosity. Why is he not fighting for me? She wonders. But that's the wrong question. You're not fighting because real men don't beg to be valued. You gave her a stage, she walked on it, she acted. Now you leave the review in silence. And make no mistake, silence is not absence. It's presence without performance. You are still here, just not for display. You go about your day. You handle your business. You remain who you were before the disappointment, but sharper, more precise, less available. Not out of spite, but out of standard. The man who once offered his energy freely now guards it with care. That shift isn't invisible. It's unnerving. Because now the ball is in her court, but she doesn't even know what game she's playing anymore. She will test it again. She will throw out a breadcrumb, a vague message, a passive smile, a delayed, just checking in. Don't fall for it. A man of value doesn't respond to crumbs, he expects meals. And if the table isn't set with consistency, loyalty, and effort, he doesn't sit, he doesn't complain either. He just leaves hungry but whole. That's the difference. Most men fear the hunger, so they eat whatever's handed to them. But the refined man waits. He starves for substance. And women notice that. They notice the man who doesn't flinch when affection is withdrawn. They notice the man who doesn't perform for comfort. They notice the man who values his emotional ecosystem more than their approval. So when she disappoints you, and you choose acceptance over reaction, you're not playing games, you're shifting gears, you're refusing to be predictable. And that right there is what haunts her, not your anger, but your peace. Because peace is permanent, reaction is momentary. Peace lingers. It wraps itself around your posture, your tone, your absence. And that absence will speak for you. By the time she realizes what your calm cost her, it's no longer about apologies, it's about alignment. And if she can't meet your standard, she'll feel the space where your presence used to live, not because you vanished, but because you evolved beyond needing to explain why you won't stay. That's clarity. That's class. That's control.